Hey guys, Czar here. Good morning to you. Happy Tuesday, July 16th. Hope all is well. We're about 45 seconds away from the open here. Just looking at my trading grid here today to start. Usually I start with my three sisters just over here. I'll come back to that in a moment. Just wanted to show you the NASDAQ here. You can see we have an inside day on the daily. In fact, why don't I go over to the daily charts here. This is the daily NASDAQ, S&P, and Dow, all three daily charts. You can see the Dow was essentially shooting for all-time highs that go right back to right about here. Last all-time high was April 1st, and we are, of course, now July 16th here today. And looking to gun through that thing here. Inside day on the S&P, inside day so far on the NASDAQ. And so I'll be watching this daily context always, but we are still in a rampaging bull market. You'll notice my EMAs here. That's a 9, a 21, a 50, a 100, and a 200. This is a positive moving average configuration, sequential wave uptrend, right? No reason to believe that this bull market is over yet because there is no confirmed change of structure, not even close. In fact, we are at the mid-range of last week's range. That's that blue line you see at the top and the blue line at the bottom, top of the range of last week of the S&P and above last week's range on the Dow. So there's the kind of big picture context here. Here's the first 1 minute still forming, about 20 seconds left here on the New York Open. So the market is in fact open regular hours. Dow pushing up again and flattening out here a little bit in the first minute of the other two. That's the NASDAQ and the S&P. So back to the trading grid here for the NASDAQ. There again is the inside day that I showed you, right? Then we have this range over here on the 30-minute chart. Very big range from yesterday. This is Asia, London, and New York from yesterday's session, right? And you'll see we have this zone right here where prices rallied strongly, were rejected violently. I ended up taking a short through here on that reversal and that rejection, and then prices eventually found support and kind of tried to rally it up and got real messy here in the afternoon, and then grinding around here overnight for me, of course, in Asia. For them it's daytime, go figure. And then London here just kind of grinding higher. We had news retail sales, I believe it was, at 8:30, and then we dropped down and now back up again at new session highs or close to it for the London session and New York overlap, of course, because London and Europe remains open until about 11:30 New York time. All right, so I'm going to be watching here, guys. I'm not going to be doing anything out of the gates. Be very patient as always, or as usual. I shouldn't say always. Occasionally I'm not that patient, and it sometimes costs me, but I'm not going to do anything here. Certainly not with prices grinding inside of the open range here with showing no discernible structure for interpretation. If you're watching this, I'll put you on pause for now, and we'll come back and take a closer look. Pause now. And back to the three sisters. Dow stuck in the middle. S&P not doing much. Very narrow 1 minute open range here. Let me just check the points on that. A 2.5 point range on the S&P, and on the NASDAQ we're looking at a 22.25 points. Now, of course, the points are always higher on the NASDAQ, or should be, because it's a 20,000 or 21,000 point index, whereas the S&P is only a 5,700 point index. So we should at least see, 4 times or about 4 times as many points for an equal comparison. You'll notice I didn't put a zone marker here. You could certainly have one there. Let me just put it there just to show you what I'm referring to. And that's because I noticed that a number of traders have been putting a lot of emphasis on the Asian range as if this is an incredibly important zone that prices can't blow through. And as you can see, very easily cutting through that without any trouble on this massive New York open volume. I don't mean today, just in general. This is when the volume comes in. This is probably very self-explanatory. But these zones from Asia, especially grinding ones like this that are just really a sideways grind, are not very powerful. It's almost, as if you can just not even have it there, and it's not that much different. So that's why I might be moving away from even marking up some of these more minor zones, just to avoid confusing those who are just getting to know the Razor's Edge method. But then this one, of course, is incredibly important because prices were rallying strongly and then violently rejected. Selling force is very strong. driving prices down, you know, a couple of 100 points at least, and that really makes a difference. And then this zone will be very important again in the New York session, right? Driving prices back up again, and then even on this big sell-off, rejecting higher again. So a very important zone, and sure enough, it was respected here on this drop down in London. So you can see the difference there, hopefully. Not all zones are created equal. In fact, far from it. Back inside the open range here, guys. So nothing for me to do. Just going to be patient here. If there are no optimal setups, there are no trades for me. All right, guys, rallying up here a little bit on the NASDAQ, the S&P, and even trying on the Dow. We do have news, though, in 21 minutes. So I'm going to be watching that a little bit here as well. And we're pushing up here on the NASDAQ, but I'm going to hold off for that news in 20 minutes or so. Even though we have this clean traffic here inside day on the daily, worth watching. Pushing up a little bit here again on the Dow, trying to on the S&P. NASDAQ actually lagging. I'm holding off here probably until the news. 9:42 a.m. right now. The news is at 10. And it's the NAHB housing market index coming out, of course, and business inventories month over month. These are both medium folder news, but I've seen the two of them together move the market a little bit. All right, guys, we have more divergence going on here. NASDAQ pulling back down right to VWAP and then rejecting up. This could get interesting here. Nice little setup here on the S&P and Dow finding some strength here. But we are back in that range. News in 14 minutes or so. All right, guys, sell stop order. Right there, in, guys, in, got triggered in right there. And I'm going to fix this marker in a moment, but looking at a short here, guys, will be 1R. There's my entry. Bear with me for one moment. Another rejection wick. Remember yesterday? Up here. Just seeking the most certain move here. All right, guys, I'm back. We're going into news in about 3 minutes, just under 3 minutes. So what I'm going to do here is play it super safe and just move my stop to break even, make it a sure no lose, assuming there's no massive slippage. And I don't think there will be on this news, given that they are both medium folder and news items. But you can see here we're even driving down slowly, at least, into that news in 2.5 minutes. Just to explain this trade, guys, it's market open play, of course, break below session low after doing a tug of war here above and below. Inside day here on the daily, but then flipping bearish in terms of body. We had rejected violently, and this is important again, like we did yesterday, if you remember, right up into here, rallying into a key zone from the prior day, rejecting, big rejection wick there, and then breaking down. Something similar here, but through the London session, rallying up into a fairly minor zone from Asia that we discussed earlier, but then flipping and rejecting. So the market's saying that this one does in fact matter, and then beginning to drive down, breaking below prior candle. That's a pre-market 30-minute candle. That by itself is not enough for me to enter, but because of the confluence of factors and breaking down below the 9, the 21, negative moving average configuration, session low, all those great things, saying that I am going down. So what the NASDAQ was saying, despite the fact that the Dow was going up and the S&P had flattened at that time. News comes out now, guys, in 20 seconds. We'll see what happens here. My stop is at break even. And there it is, guys. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate you. Have an amazing day. We'll talk to you soon.